Our next presenter starred in Netflix's Bird Box, a movie where people survive by acting like they don't see a thing. Sort of like working for Harvey Weinstein. We all know writers get way too much credit in Hollywood, and that's due to the generosity of actors sometimes mentioning them. What would writers do without actors? I don't want to keep going on about actors, but they're the most important ones, okay?
British comedian Ricky Gervais has never been one to shy away from controversy, and his recent outspoken critiques of Hollywood's so-called woke agenda are no exception. Known for his sharp wit, biting sarcasm, and no-holds-barred approach to comedy, Gervais has repeatedly voiced his disdain for what he sees as Hollywood's obsession with political correctness, virtue signaling, and censorship in the name of inclusivity. Here, Ricky Gervais, being directed to Kate Winslet, roasted her.
Well done, Winslet. I told ya, do a Holocaust movie, the awards come, didn't I?
Gervais' critiques of the entertainment industry are not new. He made headlines in 2020 when he hosted the Golden Globe Awards for the 5th time, delivering a monologue that took aim at the hypocrisy of Hollywood elites. He called out their moral posturing while, as he put it, turning a blind eye to the realities of the industry they inhabit.
The Hollywood foreign press have warned me that if I insult any of you, or any of them, or offend any viewers, or cause any controversy whatsoever, they'll definitely invite me back next year as well. That's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right, you know? It's... offence is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second-guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one.
At the heart of Gervais' criticisms is what many refer to as the woke agenda. For Gervais, this term represents an overzealous push for inclusivity that often leads to tokenism, censorship, and the suppression of diverse viewpoints. He argues that comedy, in particular, has suffered as a result of this movement, as comedians are now walking on eggshells, fearful of offending someone or being labelled as insensitive.
With comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that. But you know, you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing. You know, because I'm not doing it for the 200 egos in the room. I'm doing it for the 200 million people watching around who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires.
Right away, he takes aim at himself and the industry, making jokes about how little he cares, and even suggesting that NBC doesn't care much either, given how many times he's been brought back. He adds in a jab about Kevin Hart being fired from the Oscars, with Gervais humorously positioning himself as lucky for having less scrutiny from the Hollywood foreign press.
And freedom of speech is so important these days. I've reached the age now where I don't care anymore. It's a sin. Not to joke about all the bad things, that's a waste. Because that's exactly what we should joke about. If you can laugh in the face of adversity, you're bulletproof.
He is totally right about all of this, and also the minute he steps off set, every one of the harpies of The View will attack him.
Gervais effortlessly transitions into Hollywood's elite, joking about the night being full of stars and icons, such as Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, but he doesn't miss the chance for some comic misidentification, mixing up Joe Pesci with Baby Yoda, which brings a light-hearted moment. The mood shifts slightly as Gervais throws in a joke about the industry's fear of journalist Ronan Farrow, turning the humour into something more reflective of the power dynamics in Hollywood.
You hosted the Golden Globes. Is it 5 times you hosted the Golden Globes?
5 times over 10 years, yeah.
Were you in the audience for any of Ricky's Golden Globes?
Several times. It was a little bit...
I think it cuts to you in one of them.
I think when you talk about Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know why he had to me.
Gervais continues by acknowledging how many talented people of colour were overlooked in major award categories, humorously claiming there's nothing they can do about it because the Hollywood foreign press is very, very racist.
I mean, yeah. But it's a little bit like the experience being in the room with you at the Golden Globes is a little bit like the tail end of a family Christmas.
Yes.
Where you know it's
drunk
kind
uncle.
Of, yeah, drunk uncle.
Yeah.
He sarcastically suggests that the whole show could be shortened to just announcing Netflix as the winner of everything, adding that binging Netflix series like Afterlife would be more enjoyable than watching the ceremony.
It's like, do we show him where the bathroom is? Or do we just let him?
I can feel that, and I can see the tension. And then when I do a joke about them, they think, oh, that was all right. Like Leo DiCaprio was sort of laughing, thinking, phew, you could have said a lot worse, you know.
As the jokes get darker, Gervais takes aim at the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, making a bold joke about the disgraced financier's death. It's a punchline that makes it clear nothing is off limits for the host tonight.
The idea that a guy actually had a island. I mean,
that's what Ricky Gervais was joking about last night.
Did you watch that?
Of course he was. No, but I did see the one clip that somebody put on the internet about him saying, don't virtue signal, just come out here and get your little prize, go off, because nobody cares about your opinion. I was like, thank you, Ricky.
Turning his attention to Martin Scorsese, Gervais brings up the director's criticism of Marvel films, saying they're more like theme parks than cinema. Gervais sides with Scorsese, but can't resist poking fun at the filmmaker, joking about Scorsese's height and his ability to enjoy theme park rides.
So those are all pre-written, right? Because they had to have those cuts ready to go.
I don't know, man. He's so badass. He might be able to do whatever the he wants. You know, he's Ricky Gervais. He's got the ability to probably say, oh, I'll do it, but I'll do it this way, and only this way. And they're like, okay, Ricky, we love you. We love you. We know you wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our amazing organization, and we all love working with you here at the Golden Globes. And it's fun. I mean, you stir people up, and everybody knows you're a good guy.
Ricky Gervais made fun of the woke culture of Hollywood, saying that the companies they work for are just unbelievable and that they spend less time in school than Greta Thunberg.
So on the same subject, though, when I was in England trying to do stand-up there, you can't say anything about the Queen. They have a fit, and they won't laugh. Is that true when you do it?
No, not anymore. Not my
well, it was then.
No, I mean, I think that I think that BBC are still a bit stuffy because they get complaints, and they're a sort of government body, so they fear complaints. But live, no, anything. It's just no.
Well, when you go on the Golden Globes, a lot of time you are politically incorrect and hilarious, of course.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So this is.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
Ricky Gervais shared his hilarious insights against the woke culture. He further said that just because someone is offended doesn't mean he is right too. In interviews and through his social media platforms, Gervais has often reiterated his belief that comedy should be free from societal constraints.
And then he goes and hits him with genocide talk. Like, hey! Apple must have been so pissed. We were just getting away with using all that slave labor and nobody even noticed. It's another thing like this murder, right? It's like that's just how everything was done. That's how they whacked everybody. And that was how you got things built cheap. They used slave labor, but nobody knew. Nobody really understood until you saw things like Foxconn. You were like, wait a minute, this is a good setup? You guys are working 16 hours a day. You sleep in the building. This is a good place. This is good.
The stories of people, Amazon workers, like running around and peeing themselves so they can get shit done quick.
Ricky, clearly in a relaxed mood, starts the night with his trademark candor. He makes it clear that he's had a couple of drinks and jokes about offending the powerful guests in attendance, saying, if I've upset anyone, well, I probably meant to. But hey, unless you're Mel Gibson, you're probably safe tonight.
Thank God. That guy swings. He's out there swinging from the hip, chin up, doesn't give a telling it like it is. I love it.
He went after Apple in front of Tim Cook.
Dude,
they showed Tim Cook's
how
face.
Crazy was that shit? He went after Apple, then he said if ISIS opened up a studio, you all be sending your resumes. Is that what he said? Something along those lines?
Yeah, you'd all be like, streaming service, you'll be contacting your agents or something like that.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Ricky notes the absence of tough guys like Russell Crowe and Christian Bale, quipping, they're too cool for this kind of TV. But hey, at least Kiefer Sutherland has a few hours left before things get messy. And Mel Gibson, well, he's been through a lot, but not quite as much as the Jews. Moving on, he introduces the first presenter with his usual irreverence, bringing Scarlett Johansson to the stage with a sly jab.
First presenter, is beautiful, talented, and Jewish, apparently. Mel Gibson told me that. He's obsessed. Please welcome Scarlett Johansson. And I mustn't mention Mel Gibson this year. Not his private life, his politics, his recent films. Right. A few years ago on this show, I made a joke about Mel Gibson getting a bit drunk and saying a few unsavoury things. We've all done it. I wasn't judging him, but now I find myself in the awkward position of having to introduce him again. Listen, I'm sure it's embarrassing for both of us, okay? And I blame NBC for this terrible situation. Mel blames, we know who Mel blames. Listen, I still feel a bit bad for it.
Ricky takes a moment to remind the audience of a past joke he made about Mel Gibson's infamous drunken incident.
Mel's forgotten all about it, apparently. That's what drinking does. No. I want to say something nice about Mel before he comes out. Oh yeah, okay, here you go. I'd rather have a drink with him in his hotel room tonight than with Bill Cosby. Please welcome Mel Gibson.
Before Gibson can take the stage, Ricky delivers one final zinger.
Yeah. I love seeing Ricky once every 3 years because it reminds me to get a colonoscopy.
Mel Gibson then joins the stage and with perfect comedic timing throws a jab right back at Ricky.
ABO. It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care. Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. So, fifth time. So, we were going to do an in memoriam this year, but when I saw the list of people that had died, it wasn't diverse enough. No. It was mostly white people. And I thought, nah, not on my watch. So.
Ricky Gervais said that it was a big year for pedophile movies. Further, he roasted Hollywood woke culture.
I want to ask you a question. It's real. You can have some.
Just checking.
Yeah. And be honest. Have you... Ready?
I guess so.
Have you seen The Tourist yet?
Have you? No.
Ricky Gervais asked Johnny Depp a question, and everyone started laughing.
Jennifer Lawrence made the news when she demanded equal pay for women in Hollywood, and she received, overwhelming support. There were marches on the street with nurses and factory workers saying, how the hell can a 25-year-old live on 52 million? This is...
Ricky Gervais roasted Jennifer Lawrence.
It's already 3 hours long. There were a lot of big films that didn't get nominated this year. Nothing for Sex and the City 2. No, I was sure the Golden Globe for special effects would go to the team that airbrushed that poster. The excellent Spotlight has been nominated. Yeah. The Catholic Church are furious about the film as it exposes the fact that 5% of all their priests have repeatedly molested children and been allowed to continue to work without punishment.
Here, Ricky Gervais literally destroyed woke culture. In his 2022 Netflix special Supernature, Gervais doubled down on his criticisms of the woke culture. The show was met with both praise and backlash as Gervais tackled sensitive subjects such as gender identity, social justice, and free speech. He was unapologetic in his approach, and many of his jokes pushed boundaries, sparking debates about what is acceptable in comedy.
It wasn't the only epic movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, nearly 3 hours long. Leonardo DiCaprio attended the premiere, and by the end, his date was too old for him. So... Even Prince Andrew's like, come on, Leo, mate, you know. You're nearly 50, son.
Ricky Gervais roasted Leo DiCaprio as well.
Public. The idea that a guy actually had a fuck island. I mean,
that's what Ricky Gervais was joking about last night.
Did you watch that?
Of course he was. No, but I did see the one clip that somebody put on the internet about him saying, don't virtue signal, just come on here and get your little prize, go fuck off, because nobody cares about your opinion. I was like, thank you, Ricky, thank you, thank God. That guy swings. He's out there swinging from the hip.
Joe and his guest kick off by mentioning Ricky Gervais's Golden Globes monologue, with Joe nodding to Ricky's fearlessness.
Chin up, doesn't give a fuck, telling it like it is. I love it.
He went after Apple in front of Tim Cook.
Dude,
they showed Tim Cook's
how
face.
crazy was that shit? He went after Apple, then he said if ISIS opened up a studio, you'll all be sending your resumes. Is that what he said? Something along those lines?
Yeah, you'd all be like, streaming service, you'll all be contacting your agents or something like that.
Yeah, that's what he said. Like, fuck, man. Good for him.
So those are all pre-written, right? Because they had to have those cuts ready to go.
I don't know, man. He's so badass. He might be able to do whatever the fuck he wants. You know, he's Ricky Gervais.
The conversation shifts to one of Ricky's most memorable burns, targeting Apple. The guest recalls Ricky's joke about Apple's involvement with sweatshops.
He's got the ability to probably say, oh, I'll do it, but I'll do it this way, and only this way. And they're like, okay, Ricky, we love you. We love you. We know you wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our amazing organization. And we all love working with you here at the Golden Globes. And it's fun. I mean, you stir people up, and everybody knows you're a good guy. And then he goes and hits them with genocide talk and shit. Like, hey. Apple must have been so pissed. We were just getting away with using all that slave labor and nobody even noticed.
The guest wonders if Ricky's jabs are scripted, with Joe chiming in, he's Ricky Gervais. He can do whatever the bleep he wants. They speculate on how Ricky may have insisted on full creative control, confident that his sharp tongue is part of why everyone tunes in to the Golden Globes.
I mean, it's another thing like this murder, right? It's like that's just how everything was done. That's just how everything was done. That's how they whacked everybody. And that was how you got things built cheap. They used slave labor, but nobody knew. Nobody really understood until you saw things like Foxconn. You were like, wait a minute, this is a good setup? You guys are working 16 hours a day, you sleep in the building? This is a good place? This is good?
Yeah, those stories of people, Amazon workers like running around and peeing themselves. So they can
As the conversation deepens, they explore how Ricky's jokes about Apple's sweatshops stung, with Joe's guest sarcastically remarking, Apple must have been so pissed they thought they were getting away with it.
Yeah, they have some crazy countdown thing that goes when they get an order and they have to run to go get it. Probably a fun job if you're into losing weight. Put on some ankle weights and shit, maybe a weight vest, and just run around that thing. You'd get a fucking vicious workout. That's making lemonades out of lemons.
That's right, Joe. Everything's a workout. You could be working as a waiter at Applebee's, and that's a workout.
That's right. Think about it, man. Just with heavy weights around your waist that no one would notice. Just make it...
Of course, Gervais' stance has earned him critics, particularly among those who see his humour as outdated or harmful to marginalised communities. Some argue that his jokes about gender identity and other sensitive topics perpetuate harmful stereotypes, while others view his critiques of wokeness as a refusal to adapt to changing social norms. Stay tuned for more.